and it is my absolute pleasure to be in conversation with Grace Dent. Now, I've been given, it's like your life is going to flash before you right now, Grace, because I've got a lot of things I'm supposed to say about you.
Go and do it.
Okay, columns for The Independent, The Evening Standard, restaurant critic for The Guardian. Stop me if I've got any of this wrong.
No, you're good.
So far, Guild of Food Writers Food Writing Award 2019. Woo! In October 2020, you published your memoir, Hungry.
Yes, Hungry.
Regular guest and critic on Masterchef. Masterchef,
Yes.
the prophet. I mean, you know a lot about food. That's what we're saying, really, fundamentally.
Yeah, I'm a restaurant critic.
Okay, 11 novels for teenagers.
Yes.
And this
Yeah.
one, your first non-fiction title, How to Leave Twitter, My Time as Queen of the Universe, and Why This Must Stop.
Yeah, I messed that up.
You've messed it up?
Yeah, I'm still there.
You're still there? Okay. And the host of the podcast called Comfort Eating. It all sounds fantastic. Now, the first thing I was told about you, it said she retains her Carlisle accent, as if that's like a weird thing.
Yeah.
What you gonna
First
do?
of all, who said that?
I'm not at liberty to say. But I have done a bit of research into the history of Carlisle, because who doesn't want to know history? Now, you're actually from a suburb called Curragh, is that right?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's where
so
I'm
here's
from.
what it says about Curragh on Wikipedia. Curragh is a southern suburb of Carlisle. It contains a boating lake. It had a bowling club until 2011. That's literally all it says. It doesn't mention you. And apparently, I did a bit further research. The bowling club closed due to dwindling membership.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
Is there anything else about Curragh that I missed out? That's honestly all it says on Wikipedia.
I think it probably closed because all of the people that could play bowls passed away, and everybody that was left is on heroin.
Already I want to go. There's two choices for life in Curragh. Bowling or heroin.
I mean, being serious. I mean, I am being serious, but being serious. Yeah. Look, there was. I don't remember the bowling club. I remember there was a.
It was your fault it closed down. Where were you?
There was definitely Hammond's Pond, which was.
Is that the boating lake?
That's the boating lake, and there was one of those. You know, there's 1970s playgrounds where absolutely everything will kill you. And it was the 1970s, so no parents gave a shit. Like, you literally came home every time.
You're
with
on your own.
With stitches and winded, and somebody had flashed at you and nobody cared because it was the 1970s.
No, 1970s, we didn't even have seatbelts in the back of the car.
Nobody cared.
Nobody cared. Just bouncing around in the back of the car.
But no, I mean, thank you for looking into Curragh. Yeah, it's a very small part of Carlisle. Carlisle is 8 miles from the border of Scotland, but we are all fiercely, as people are in border places, fiercely English, and then you get over the border and people are more Scottish than they could ever be.
But it's weird because Carlisle has been both. It's been English and Scottish, so it rather depends on which period of history you're living there.
Well, you good luck saying that.
Oh, really? Oh, fine. Okay.
No, I mean, it is. It's a very English place, and yeah, we're a mishmash. You say about my accent.
Yeah.
So I think Carlisle accents are we're a bit Geordie, and we're a bit Manc, and I'm a bit Scouse, and I think that it's in us. I don't think I can get rid of this accent. Radio 4 has tried to get rid of this accent.
Flatten you out.
No, they really have, and I mean, in a lovely way, they do. They have, went through many times trying to get me to re-record links. They say that I don't put my T's in properly and my G's at the end of things, and they do. They have over the years, and I sometimes do get it till it's actually acceptable, and kind of people from Tunbridge Wells stop writing really nasty letters about me. But the moment I get on the phone back to my mother, that's it, it's gone, and it's back, and I'm back in. I think like most people out that are listening to it, your accent is only as good these days as your last phone call home.
Yeah, I think.
And then it's back.
Yeah.
back. Words that are in you, and words that are, and ways you put together phrases are tucked away in the crevices of your mind, and then they're just there, and it's back. So, and I'm proud of it.
No, I think it's absolutely wonderful.
Even if no one can understand me.
So far, so good. How are we doing over there? Yes, you've got this.
No, I'm so sorry.
No, I think I dislike immensely the homogenization of accents. that's happening in the world because everybody listens to the same television. I love the fact that people have different ways of expressing themselves.
I
think
heard.
it's great.
Sorry, I'm just trying to turn my chair because I feel like I'm in profile and I can't see you. Hello. I heard that the more martinis you have, the more American you become.
I grew up in New York, and when I arrived here, I was 14, and I arrived in a boarding school, and all the girls, because girls in schools can be so lovely, refused to speak to me because of my thick New York accent. But when I'm drunk, I start saying, "Yeah, sure, come on," because it's still somewhere in me that is my accent. So this is entirely fake, I'm afraid. I could teach you to do the Radio 4 thing if you like. I've nailed it.
But exactly. I mean, joking aside, you can do that. You can do complete Radio 4. There's something I'm going to say before we get any further into this that I was going to say at the beginning. So this is a time where there's lots and lots of women here, and women getting together and probably examining the differences between women and men and thinking about that type of thing. The thing I always remember about you, whenever anybody mentions you, because everybody loves you, is that, so I've been on lots and lots of panel shows, and it's a very macho atmosphere. Have I got news for you? You get there, and it's quite macho.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And they're lovely, but it's macho, and Paul can, he can be a treat sometimes, can't he? And they can, and and it's a not a welcoming atmosphere sometimes. And then I did I did the news quiz, and just before we went on, it was you were you were chairing, and you walked up to me before I went on and went, "It's a really long show, darling. You might need to go to the loo." And I thought. And that is what happens when you've got a woman. And you said to me, honestly, if you might need to have a wee, like just have one now. And I thought, that's so lovely. So that's the thing I remember about you.
Well,
because that is very you. And
I also used to stop the recording if I thought people were getting a bit tired. Because you know how it can tip over. It can tip over. You've all been having a lovely laugh, and then it's all going to turn a bit unpleasant. So we should stop now because some of you need to go to bed. That's honestly. Which I think is fine. Listen, I haven't finished my Carlisle stuff. I just got very excited about the Romans burnt Carlisle down completely in the time of Nero. I just want to know if you're an obstreperous people.
Yes.
Oh, fine. I like that.
Oh, God, absolutely. I would say that's why it's kind of wired into us to be, the kind of person, and I am this, that you want on your side in a bar fight. We've got a siege mentality. There's a kind of terrier-like way about us. Yeah, I think.
I love that.
Is.
See, I don't think I could be in a bar fight, but my wonderful wife, she comes from Padiham in Lancashire, and on one occasion we were walking by a lake, and a goose, this has never happened to me before, attacked us. It literally came at us, and she shoved me behind her and went, "I've got this." Just come on, and the goose was like that. This is backing off. It's not going to think. Can I just recommend though? So I didn't know very much about Carlisle, and I'm going to stop in a minute talking about it. But I was so interested. Every single place in this country has got a fantastic history of amazing women. And I discovered a woman in Carlisle called Mary Smith, and she was the daughter of a boot and shoemaker. And she was the first woman in Carlisle in the 1860s to talk about women's suffrage. And don't you think that's incredible? Her father would have been probably illiterate, I would imagine. And she wrote about the helplessness of women in the great battle of life. And that was in the 1860s.
Can you imagine, though, exactly up there, how mortified and angry everybody would have been by that? They would have been furious. Absolutely furious that she was bringing that up because, the men up there had it their own way for a long time.
Well, I think it's wonderful, and there's a wonderful famous photograph of the Great March 1913, the Great Women's Suffrage March, and it takes off from Carlisle. That's where it began. The Countess of Carlisle was an enormous supporter of women's suffrage. So good on you, Carlisle. That's all I was going to say.
I remember that with my grandmother, who is long gone, but when my grandfather never went to a shop in his entire life, even obviously not for food, never, and he never even went for clothes. If he wanted clothes, my gran would go up street and bring a selection of clothes for him to try, like he was kind of this
Wow.
worship. And this was what men just didn't go and do anything for themselves. And that's what I mean. And I was kind of brought up around that as well. I remember my mother specifically saying these things to me as a child. So I always feel like every day really proud that I just told everybody to piss off, really, and got out. It was, the 70s and 80s Carlisle was traditional.
So did you
I
grow
love it. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm very proud of where I'm from, but I
No,
think that
But it doesn't sound like it's a place where you grow up thinking, I think I'm going to be a food critic.
no,
No.
absolutely not. No, I mean, what I was, supposed to work at Carr's biscuit factory, and that's not. I look at people now that left school at the same time as me, and they've done 25 years, and they're about ready to retire on a handsome pension. So I'm not going to kind of say that was the wrong thing to do, but yeah, it was very specific roles for girls like me.
Have you worked in a factory?
I've never worked in a factory. I've done stuff like work at Southwaite Service Station, which is almost as horrific.
I worked in a factory for a short while between school and university, and my job was, there used to be a thing called a Gillette man, and it was a little orange plastic man that they sold Gillette razors in. And my job was to put the eyes in the Gillette man. And every 100th, I used to put one eye in the middle and make a Cyclops Gillette man. And I was the only person on the assembly line who found this amusing. I didn't stay.
Absolute anarchy.
Yeah, I know, completely craziness. So let's talk about restaurants when you were a child, because it's your life now, and your view is held in great regard by lots of people. Now, I remember when I used to come to England to visit my English grandparents, so then we're talking about the 60s and 70s, restaurants were for birthdays or if your aunt had died or something. It was quite a significant event in order to go to a restaurant. Was it like that for you as a child? Was it a part of your life?
I don't think we would have called them restaurants. I think that, you're right. It was eating out was a special occasion. And to be honest, the first few years of my life, I was born in 1973, my first tastes of actually going out would be Wimpy.
Could have a Wimpy and a Whipsy. Does anybody remember a Whipsy? It was a frothy coffee.
So that was one of the first places I ever went, the Brown Derby. Is it called, was there not a burger called the Big Bender?
Anybody?
I'm pretty sure there was one called the Big Bender.
I think that would be frowned upon now.
I know, I don't think you're allowed to say
that, no.
So, yes.
What's the sign for Big Bender?
What is the sign? What is a Big Bender?
Go, Rose, go.
Every day is a school day. Hang on, there's a lady there. You can always guarantee one person will know. What was it called? It was a circular
Frankfurter.
And it was called the Big Bender. Thank you, Wikipedia. That's great. Yeah, thank you.
I bloody love that. There should be a prize for you. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Well, that's all I want now is a Big Bender. That's literally it. That's not words you thought you'd hear from me, is it?
It's the dream.
But
yes, going out, and I think so early on it would have. I mean, we all laugh about Wimpy, but it was for the working classes in 1970. Well, it was a special occasion. It was a birthday. I remember the first time I ever saw a Knickerbocker Glory come out of the kitchen when you're 5 years old in the 70s. It's like, wow, head can't live at that speed. I think that Carlisle people, probably their first times of eating out would be when they started to make food in pubs outside. And even then it would be kind of pub grub. Restaurants were not really a thing. I mean, I think it's definitely a lot better now, clearly.
Well,
but
and the quality of the food. My Danish father would go to Sunday lunch with my English grandmother, and she would spend several hours boiling the vegetables. and then she would put them on a plate and put them in front of my father. And my father would always go, "Why do you do this to yourself?" It was incomprehensible to a Danish person to have destroyed all goodness in the vegetable.
Somebody said to me as well that British people, we cook the meat till it's really hard and all of the juices has come out of it, and then we put the juices into a jug and then we pour the juices back on. Why not just make the meat soft and delicious and full of the juices? And I was like, you seriously must understand gravy, right?
Yeah.
You misunderstand how important it is, but it is, things like that. Exactly, that was the food that I grew up with, and I still love. I still get excited at a Knickerbocker Glory, because who can't?
Yeah.
There isn't a crap day that isn't going to be improved by somebody turning up with a tall sundae glass, filled to the brim with chocolate brownie and cream and cherries and a long spoon. It's always going to be fun.
We should have had those on here. That would have been great.
Yeah, we should have.
We went horribly wrong. But there's an odd fact. You're mostly vegan now.
When I'm eating at home, I eat loads and loads of vegan food. Oat milk is what I drink when I'm at home, and I eat lots and lots of fruit and vegetables when I can, right? And that's for lots of reasons. People don't like it when I bang on about animals, but I love animals.
Right.
Like, animals are my favorite people.
So
I don't that some people get angry, but I feel like I may be among friends. I love dogs and I love cats and I love animals, and I work in a world where eating meat is celebrated continually, and I'm always surrounded by men who, the weirder the cut, the stranger the thing, the rarer the breed, the stranger the part of the animal, and then sometimes the cruelty too. They like it, I live in a world where foie gras, chefs love foie gras, they love it, and to express that you're not okay with it is seen as if you're being a bit girly. You're being
right,
and I don't care. I don't care if I'm girly. I'm the only girl in the room.
We ripped this liver from a small Mongolian goat.
Pardon?
We ripped a liver from a small Mongolian goat while it was still alive.
Yes.
Enjoy.
But it can be a little bit like that. So I always feel people want to talk about the vegan bit, but then when I talk about it, you can see people's eyes glaze over. So suffice to say, that's what I eat when I'm at home. But my job is I have to go out, and you go onto Masterchef and you sit there, and it's one piece of roe deer, like rarer than the next, comes out. And
do you actually enjoy it then? Do you enjoy the taste of it, or not really?
It's not my favorite. It's absolutely not my favorite. With Masterchef, I absolutely long for a carb, if somebody comes in and they've just made something amazing with potatoes, and I am happy. Like, there is never a time when I'm not happy to see beautiful vegetables, because people don't do it, because the chefs sometimes cooking a piece of duck. Got to have a duck up to here, duck. So do I enjoy it? Not as much. Right. I think that I can't say that meat in some of its forms isn't delicious, because that's the animal's biggest downfall, isn't it? Like that a lamb, to me, when I spend a lot of time in the lakes, because that's where my family are a lot now, and it breaks my heart to walk through when the lambs are out. It's like existentially I am crucified all the time, because then they are delicious. They are delicious.
I have to say, I was in the lakes this year during lambing. And I was watching this sheep, and suddenly, I'm not exaggerating, it sort of stopped for a second, and a lamb kind of walked out of. It was the most astonishing thing I've ever seen. It just sort of came back and went to the land, and then it sort of ran off. I thought, my God, our children would be so much better if they just buggered off as soon as they arrived.
Immediately.
Absolutely fantastic. And I got to hold this particular lamb, and it was about an hour old, and I haven't had lamb since.
This is exactly it.
I know. No, it's just suddenly
you can't.
You think, I always used to say, I only like food with parents, but now I'm thinking, maybe not the lamb.
Let's not go through every animal one by one.
Oh, except,
because I could.
Me. Yeah, but you said, I read that you were a militant vegetarian, and then you went to chicken because you realised that chicken were very stupid, and so it would be fine.
They are stupid. I don't think they notice. I was a militant vegetarian from the 80s, because I was, I just loved Morrissey and I loved the Smiths. It's not as easy to say that nowadays. At one point, but yeah, from the 80s onwards, like that, I always think that it was like Morrissey and the Smiths were part of getting me. We're talking about escaping from Carlisle, but that feeling of being understood, and the lyrics, and it was something that was wonderful. And then he brings out Meat is Murder, and but like eating vegetarian in the 80s was that's strictly for the hardcore.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, there was nothing in the shops. You just went to Holland and Barrett and got something that was like sludge and mixed it out of a packet and like made it into veggie mix.
Astronaut food.
And you went to restaurants and it was the same microwaved vegetable lasagna or just one big fried mushroom.
Even now, if you go to my hometown of Copenhagen, and you go to a restaurant and you say you're vegetarian, they say you'll have the fish. That's as close as much as we can manage. The idea that you wouldn't eat something proteiny is mad. I was just thinking on Masterchef, could you not bring a little Tupperware of pasta with you just to just go, no, that looks nice. I'm just going to put a little something on the side.
The trick with Masterchef, though, will always be to kind of, you have to kind of ration what you're eating anyway. So you get there and you sit down and I have a glass of wine and I have a gossip with everybody, other restaurant critics. But the moment it begins and they start to bring their plates in, it is like bang, bang, 8, 9 dishes in a row. So the problem, and God, my poor problem, get out the world's smallest.
Hell.
My hell. The problem is that, so you arrive at about 10, you sit down at about 11, and you haven't had any breakfast because I go into makeup, so I'm starving. And then that first dish comes out, and you've got to say, just eat a bit, because if you just kind of do a flip top head and like push it down you, which you often do if it's brilliant, you're, can I swear?
Yeah.
You're fucked for the rest of the day. It's like, I'm so sorry.
No, I think it's
but it is, and I did that the other day. I did that on Thursday. It started and it came in. I can't really talk about Thursday, actually. I should.
Oh.
This is the problem. This is why they don't tell me anything. When I go onto Masterchef, they keep me so in the dark, even about what series, what episode, who everybody is. And I think it's because they know that I go out, get a microphone in my hand, and have 3 glasses of Merlot and go, anyway, the thing is about...
Yeah, do you know who... Well, Prue Leith told everybody who'd won before the end of Bake Off, so I think you're doing fine, Dylan. I wouldn't worry about it. Can you cook? Are you good at cooking?
I am, yes, well, I can cook. I'm a very capable matriarchal cook that can shove food down for 6 people night after night after night, but there's no glory for that in this world, is there? Nobody gives a shit about people that can do that. It's like people expect me to say, I have the water bath out every night and a piece of veal, and it's not. I think that a lot of the male food critics love to cook in that very technical way. But no, if someone dies, I can like whip up a buffet really quickly.
That's good. That's good to know.
I'm one of those kind of, it's that Victoria Wood line, isn't it? Like, what is it? 60 baps, Connie, you slice, I'll spread. But it's that, I can't remember, I've probably butchered that, but it's that kind of, I can, some of the happiest times of my life has been, I talk about this in Hungary. As my mum was dying and my dad was just at the point where, he had Alzheimer's and, I rented a big house to try and just keep everybody together just for that last bit. I knew it was over. I knew we were on the downward slope. And, every night to just be in the kitchen and do a dinner that a 4-year-old and a man can eat who's 83, who doesn't know what day it is. I think that's a skill, and I think that there's hundreds of women out here that feel exactly the same. Yeah. But and it pains me when you see, Delia, for example. Delia, I'm talking about Delia Smith like I know her. I don't know Delia, but like you see, Delia doesn't get the praise for teaching people like me to be able to do that, to be self-sufficient and be able to do that.
And making Sunday lunch for your entire family is just a joy. Is this one of the best?
I love it. And I love, and I don't cook. I don't cook in a particularly precise way. I don't use recipes. It's just that kind of stuff that I watch. Well, I would say stuff I watch my mum cooking, but now it's called I learned to cook at the knee.
Oh, I see. Is that how it works?
That's what you meant to say.
I realised that I taught my children to cook, and I realised that they'd really taken on board because I can't be bothered to measure anything. And so liquid is blub blub. And so my son, I was making something, and I said, how much liquid do you think? He said, it was about 3 blub blubs. I thought, you know how that is. You just go blub 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 blub. And you think, yeah, it's fair enough. And then whoosh of the spices. It's whoosh, so blubs and whooshes. Who taught you to cook though? Did your mum teach you, or did your dad teach you, or who?
A bit of both. I write in Hungary about being taught some things by my dad, but he definitely taught me how to chop an onion. But he really only did have 2 recipes, and one of them was spaghetti bolognese, made with, and the sauce was Campbell's condensed tomato soup.
Wow. Okay.
And but we didn't have any seasoning in Carlisle until about 1992. We just had white Saxa pepper. But no, I'm sorry. I always say we didn't ever see. I never saw garlic until I was about 13, 14. The only time you saw garlic was on a low around someone's neck, so that we knew they were French. And that was that was my dad's only recipe. So he made spag bol, or he called it sketty because he was a Scouser, and he did fried bread with beans. And that was it.
That was your lot.
My mother was a good cook. I talk a lot about this in Hungary in the book, that in the 80s, right? So in the 70s she cooked, and in the 80s she cooked until, and I think this is the same and I hear this a lot with a lot of mothers from that era, until the big supermarkets, the massive supermarkets, not the little ones, but when the big Asda arrived, it was just like, this like magical, 55,000 square feet of just wonder and plenty. These big Asdas that turned up on the peripheries of the cities. And, I feel like a lot of people like my mum were like, full of processed food, stacked, pile it high, sell it cheap. They're doing you a favor by giving you all this processed stuff. It's reduced. It's at 4:00 every night. There's somebody with like a gun reducing it, Fill your freezer. And I do think around that time my mum probably stopped cooking as much, and it was all microwaved.
But all that choice, and then actually what's happened is that the diet has deteriorated.
Yeah.
And I think if I was going to do one thing in schools, I would bring back domestic science. I really would.
Agree.
I would teach people how to cook, and I would teach kids maths through cooking, and I would teach them history through cooking. I think it would be just fantastic. There's no need to eat all that crap.
I think that being able to cook for yourself, even in a rudimentary way, is one of the, we talk a lot about self-care. Like, self-care's become very popular now, that phrase. And that is one of the main ways that you just to be able to look after yourself, to be able to go home on a Friday, and if you've got the weekend to yourself and you're thinking, shit, I don't want to, this is sad, to be able to cook and know what to do and not have to wait for anybody else to cook. But yeah, we've lost that. We've lost it a bit along the way, but...
Listen, talk to me. I read I'm going to give you a quote about being funny. Trying to be funny in women's magazines in the 90s was hell. Jokes by their very nature require a writer to be specific in their use of words, and that being funny is a science. And when there's a pressure on to write, an amusing column about napkins or whatever it is, I'm not suggesting you have, but I'm saying you might take that idea and have it for your own. Do you ever worry? It's one of my concerns about comedy is that it can be hurtful. Does it ever worry you? I part of the reason I was glad in the end not to do the news quiz was because there was a danger that you might hurt the very people that you're talking about.
Wow. I didn't think the question was going to go that way.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's good. No, I like it. I don't like hurting people.
I'm not suggesting that you do.
If I'm being I'm trying to think if I'm being really honest. So, I love to be funny. I stand by everything that I say there, that it has to be specific and cutting. And you have to, one of the problems or one of the skills of writing comedy is to be specific and use references that are really to the point and make people go, oh, that's brilliant, or she's so right. But yeah, I don't think that any humour doesn't have some kind of collateral damage, does it, ever?
Well, I mean...
Swear words, every good swear word is problematic.
Yeah,
I agree.
Everything that we
almost everything we laugh at, almost all the laughs that we've got today, there would be somebody that went, actually, I didn't like that, you know. So, but then I'm a critic as well, you know. Like, I think this is one of the things that adds to it. I think that almost anybody would say that they wanted to be a restaurant critic, as if it's a really, because it is an amazing job. It is fantastic and heavenly, and it's a bit like being Princess Margaret. You can't complain about it, you know. But you do
I
have
wouldn't have chosen her as a, but okay.
Would you not have chosen Princess Margaret? That is all I ever aspire to. It's just a woman being kind of just pissed in Antigua. It's just like, it's literally just looking fantastic.
That's the memoir I want to write.
Just pissed in Antigua.
Pissed in Antigua.
Was it Mystique? Actually, it was Mystique.
Was it?
It was Mystique. It's probably Antigua too. But one of the downside of being a restaurant critic is that you're sitting in, and I eat for a living. I eat all the time. And when I know that I have told the newspaper that I'm going to be in that restaurant, and I've kind of sealed myself, maybe we're up on deadline, so I can't even I can't even wriggle out of it. And the food's awful, and the service is awful, and the toilets are filthy, and there's no blue paper in the women's. That's when I start thinking, shit, I've got to say this.
Yeah.
And it's horrible.
Is this somebody's life that, you know, it's...
it's absolutely, it's horrible when, and I've learned my lesson over the years, you have to become very, set yourself apart from the owners and the PRs and not be their friends, not be their chums. I think that when you first start working in the industry, it's one big party. And restaurant people are very vivacious and they stay up all night, never get pissed with restaurant people because, you know, like after you've exhausted the pub and the lock-in, they own bloody restaurants, you know, like where are you going to go? Back to their place, and someone's going to get pregnant, you know. So
I think you and I go to very different parties.
But, you know, you become incredible, you know, it's very easy. People think London's big, and it is, but scenes aren't big. The entertainment scene isn't big, the restaurant scene isn't big. You can know everybody very quickly. And it's very, very hard to be honest about a restaurant when you've held the owner's children in one arm on your hip one night, you know. So you do have to kind of keep yourself away from it. I hate hurting people, and I think probably in my 20s and my 30s, I was probably harder. But as I get into the later part of my 40s, and I just feel... Yeah, life's too bloody short, isn't it, to hurt people?
But I was thinking, if I can name food critics at all, it's mostly people that I've known over the years, Jay Rayner, Giles Corran.
Who?
But boys, all boys, darling. I can't think of it. There's a lot of boys.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of boys, I think, well, for a lot of reasons. I think, you know, I think it's, and this is, again, I think it's a hard job. I don't have any children. I think it's probably a very hard job to do if you are a mum and trying to put kids to bed. I think that it can be unpredictable and endless and endlessly changing, and I think people sometimes get offered the job and they do it for a little while and they go, oh, I can do this, it's fine, and then the amount of people that I know that they start and they do about a year and then they give it back,
right? Because
it's, you know, it's you're out when it would be really nice to sit on the couch in a pair of, like, you know, structureless trousers.
It's a sort of a weirdly unsociable.
It's a really
sociable job.
It's a really antisocial job where I eat with a very small group of people that I go with all the time. And yeah, it's stressful. Like the atmosphere changes from the minute that you walk into a restaurant, and everybody's nervous and banging into walls, and it's like Darth Vader's arrived. So it is. It's like, but you get used to it. But yeah,
I like the idea of you sitting doing heavy breathing at the time. Tell me something from your memoir. How difficult is it to say, well, I'm going to reveal this much about myself, and not it, because you have to have a bit of privacy. You're entitled to privacy. I didn't want to write a memoir. I found it really, really difficult. I did write one, but it's mostly about the number 12 bus and not really about me, because I didn't really. I don't know. I didn't want to open that many cupboards. Was that a difficulty for you?
Yeah, yeah, it was. I mean, I didn't. First of all, I didn't think that Hungry was going to be specifically a memoir, because I just thought, who the hell would want to read a memoir about me anyway? It was about food and the way that we've changed the way that we eat since the 60s, 70s, 80s, right up until now. How I became a restaurant critic and went from being a person that, grew up on Finder's crispy pancakes and butter Scotch Angel Delight to, eating at Claridge's or whatever. It was about that. I think as the book was written, it became apparent that I couldn't. I could either duck out of everything, or I could give a little, and I had to tell them about my dad, and because I love my dad. My dad's still alive, but I had to tell about his decline with Alzheimer's, specifically because it's not a misery memoir. I don't think Alzheimer's is in any way a strange and unusual thing. There's hundreds and thousands of people out there that have lived through it. It's mundane, So I did kind of want to talk about it, and I talked about cancer and all those types of things. But it was horrible. I mean, was it? I do wonder about these people that just write these memoirs and just feel completely don't care about it, because I think I had itched parts of myself into eczema, through kind of worry about what I was going to say. And even so, there's a lot that I've left out. I had to change people's names and lots and lots of names. But no, it's horrible. I was like, did you find it easy to?
No, I absolutely hated it. So I didn't want to do one of those ones where the book starts with you clearing your throat going, I was born in, so I decided to do the number 12 bus in London, which has 36 stops. And I wrote it in 36 chapters, and I got off at each stop and looked for the history. There's history on every street corner in this country. And then it sparked a memory for me of something, and I wrote it in that way. So it's not, it's not in any way a chronological look at my life.
There's always a point between giving the book in and it being edited, and then a really long wait for it to come out, and that's absolute hell, I think. But did you read the audiobook?
Yes, I did, yeah. I was surprised how interesting my life had turned out to be. No idea.
The audiobook is... I think that when you read the audiobook of your own book, there should be some kind of counselling when you walk out.
Yeah.
Because you get there and they put you in a booth for 4.5 days with a complete stranger who's your tech, who's about 11 and a half.
Yeah.
And then you sit there and you just splurge your life into a microphone.
Yeah, it's a very, very...
It's
a very weird thing.
Yeah.
I just want to, before we take some questions from the audience, but I just want to talk to you about another aspect of food in this country, which is, I don't know what to call it, the tyranny of dieting. It's something you have strong views about? It seems to me it's very... it's not good for our mental health, is what I think, the endless tyranny of dieting.
I mean, God, I mean, it's like, yes. I mean, I think that anybody, almost the majority of women have not got a healthy... Is it healthy? I hate that word, healthy attitude. What's a healthy attitude? I think that, I firmly believe that almost every woman thinks of every single thing that they put into their mouth and thinks, have I had too much today? And should I have that? And the tyranny of it. I mean, I can only speak from somebody that goes on television, and I'm always considered one of the biggest girls on set,
What?
Oh God, always. You know what it's like. And when I talk to Emin and Hun, Comfort Eating, my podcast, I've almost within 12 episodes tried to kind of get around the topic of, being camera ready. Camera ready. Is that a word? There you go. That's the face. Camera ready. Are you camera ready?
Oh God, it's the shop. It's the shopping. I went to buy a pair of trousers, and I said to the woman, she was a very nice German assistant in this department. So I said, I'm afraid these trousers are too small. She said, really? But these are huge. Okay. Thank you.
So yeah, look, the tyranny to diet. I don't for everything that's happened in the last 10 years with body positivity and us being able to address this subject and talk about it. Has it made it any easier every day? I think right. I always say that I always think that body positivity absolutely circumnavigated Generation X women, because we grew up in living rooms watching Miss World and being told that 36, 24, 36 is where you're meant to act. And I always say this, it's always like seared in my brain somewhere that's where happiness lies.
I mean, I think to me, part of the problem, because I do think restaurant food has improved so much, as you say, but if you are out on the road, as I so often am, I'm touring or something, it is very, very difficult to get something healthy to eat. You stop at a service station in Denmark and you will still be able to get a very healthy meal, but you stop at a service station here and it's going to be covered in lard in some manner or other.
Do you know where's really weirdly good at the moment for that? And you're going to be surprised, Starbucks.
Oh, okay.
The food, sorry, this is completely off topic. The food's actually
You can stop at a Starbucks and get
oddly good at the moment. I'm enjoying Starbucks more than Pret.
Top tip.
There you go.
Yeah,
no, they're doing a lot of vegan and vegetarian stuff, and it's pretty good. But I don't know whether it's massively good for you, because then you end up getting a kind of double chocolate frappalai, which is a lot. But
I only drink black coffee, because why ruin coffee? I love coffee. Right, let's take. How do we do this? Is
there a roving microphone? I just turned around and I'm so amazed there's still anyone here. Thank you. I thought there was just going to be
we're just chatting amongst ourselves.
Okay, sorry,
Hi, darling. What's your name?
Hello.
Rob.
Hello, Rob.
Rob's the man. Let's give Rob a round of applause. Okay. Has anybody got a question that they would like? Yes, right there in the very nice red.
Sorry, thank you. Hello, sorry, it's not a really sensible question, but I'm from Hexham, so Carlisle was actually a day out for us.
Yeah, it was.
So I want to ask, when I moved to the south when I was 19, before I went to college, I thought a Swede was a turnip. Is that something just Hexham people, or did Carlisle people think that Swedes were actually called turnips?
This is the most niche question.
Yeah,
I've ever had.
I'm loving being in your very presence.
And I have an answer for this. Yes, you're right. People from the northeast and the northwest think that Swedes and turnips are the same thing. And I'll tell you what. So, and at Halloween, because we'd never, in the northeast, northwest in the 70s, we'd never seen a pumpkin. That was just something you saw on TV from America. You had to carve a turnip. I know, and you had to carve it so much as a child until you had like a broken wrist and pieces of skin hanging off your thumb, and then you had to put a rudimentary face in it. It was the most evil-looking thing, and then you put it in the window with a. That's it. So that's how I know.
And there was nothing like that smell of that candle, was there? My dad,
Burning
I've got three
turnip.
sisters, and he'd have to take a week off work after doing 4 turnips.
Honestly, this whole discussion. I'm from Denmark. For us, a Swede.
Only a
Primadonna.
Primadonna.
Swede is somebody who drinks more than a Danish person. This is absolutely marvellous. Well, I think we've set a very high benchmark now.
I love that it wasn't even a question.
No,
it was just a statement about turnips. And then, thank you very much.
And a good mention from Hexham. Hello.
Yeah.
It's another northern one. I just wondered, was your mum proud of your work? Did you ever get that kind of, who do you think you are thing? And the reason I ask thing is that my mum used to cut out your articles and post them to me, but she never read anything I wrote. So you're the daughter she really wanted. But back to the question. Oh
my God.
Wow, there's a tiny bit of bitterness I felt. Just a tiny.
I can feel it.
Just like a frisson of bitterness I felt.
Do you know something? I so understand that, and I've never known me being the good example. Thank you. So your mother thinks that about, because I think that's what northern mothers did. They always kind of went, well, Julie, 3 doors down, she wouldn't walk about in a skirt like that. You know, there was always another woman another child that was better.
I don't think it's just a northern thing.
No, it's not.
It isn't. My
it's a
mother's from
man
Kent.
thing.
I've yet to please her. It's honestly,
Yeah.
it's not really a thing.
Was my mum proud? Yeah. Yes, she was very, very proud. She found it very difficult, though. She used to say, when I was, everything I did in my life, she'd go, "You don't make your life easy, do you?" And I think she would have been equally as happy, if not more, if I'd married a lad down the road, like when I was 18, and because there was quite a few builders, who had sons that were available to marry. And if I'd married someone like that, like she'd have got a breakfast bar or something like that. And I think she was always a bit like, "Oh, I saw so and so's son in Asda. You've let that one slip through your fingers." And but she was proud. Yeah, she was proud. No, like one of the last times I ever sat and watched telly with her, because she kind of went downhill really quickly and died. And I remember we were sitting watching me on Saturday Kitchen, and I'd recorded it. You know, when you record things and it looks like it's live, it's not live. And there was me on for about 3 hours, and I was sitting in the kitchen cooking and watching her sit on the couch watching me kind of laughing. And I thought, she, you know what I mean? This is the end now. And she was happy. She was happy. She used to do that thing. She used to rearrange my books in Asda so they were all cover out and stuff and all that, you know. But right till the end, she was still critical. She used to kind of go, I'd go, "Oh, did you see me on telly?" And she'd go, "Well, your hair needs cut."
Wow.
And that was it. So, but that's it. That's mothers,
That's
and
mothers.
they're allowed to do that.
Yeah.
Say hi to your mum for me.
I can see somebody with a hand up in the middle.
I'm here.
Oh, yeah, and in the front there as well. Yep, go. Hi, darling, how are you?
Hello, I'm good, thank you. It's just a very quick question. Obviously, you get to eat some amazing foods from everywhere. Oh, I'm
Where
here.
are you?
Just here, right at the back.
Oh, hello. Hiya, sorry.
But if you only had to eat one food for the rest of your life, what would it
Wow.
be?
What kind of world do you live in that one food?
Bread and cheese for me.
Everything would get sad very quickly, but I think I could eat really good chips, really good hot chips, in a polystyrene. It'd have to be a yellow polystyrene carton with vinegar and salt and a side of chip shop curry. I could get at least 9 or 10 weeks out of that, and I would never ever get tired. So it would be that. It would be chips with curry sauce. I always feel
We
like
come
I
from
let
very
people
different
down.
worlds, I think.
Carbs with sweet
gonna-
curry. What would you
I'm going to
have?
go baked Alaska, so that's no good, is it? I love baked Alaska.
There's no way you could eat baked Alaska 3 days in a row.
That's true. I'd like to try. Does anybody still make baked Alaska?
No.
No, literally nobody. Okay.
No, it's on absolutely no menus.
unknown.
It'll have a comeback though, because
Will
they
it?
always do.
Oh, bloody lovely. Right. Now, I can see a hand up over here, and there was a lady in yellow here. Don't run, darling. It's positively bad for you. Hello.
Hi. This is another food-related question. How do you feel about regional food? You know, in England or UK.
That's a big question. How do I feel about regional food? Well, I mean, I eat tons of it. Do you mean how do I feel about restaurants when I come out of London? I love the fact she has to get the microphone back. You got like, do you feel? Oh, right. Okay, I'm going to answer.
Make it up yourself.
I'm going to make it up. There's no type of food that I'm not fascinated by. So that's one of the greatest things. I worked for a long time. I just had I was a restaurant critic at the Evening Standard in London, and the reason I came back to the Guardian was because I wanted to be I wanted to do the whole of Britain because that's the greatest fun. The biggest fun is when you just driving through somewhere and you stop. And I just go on Google and go, what is this place known for? And then you just go into some little bakery and go, you know, I'd like one of your and it was just some stupid name, and they get it out. That's the greatest thing ever, you know. And I mean, regional food. I love Scottish food. I love Cumbrian food. I think Cumbria has got like, you know, wonderful, wonderful produce. Yeah, yeah. How do I feel about regional food? I'm pro.
And we need to keep it going, don't we? I mean,
God,
I've been to
yes.
Lancashire and had something called a plate pie, which is one of the most
Yes.
delicious. Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, we do plate cake in Cumbria. Plate, yeah. I mean, we have to keep these things going. These are the, I mean, especially now that we've cut ourselves off from the rest of everywhere else, I think we should be proud of what we do. You know, we have to. I know, I love the fact you looked at your watch, Grace, leave it.
I know. No, it's just Brexit or no Brexit, you can still get Danish food at my house, so you're all right. Come to my house. Right, another question.
Hiya, I'm over here.
Hello, how are you?
When I was younger, my mum used to make this pasta with kind of onions and peppers and white sauce. And apparently she was teaching me how to make it. And I said, Mummy, when I'm grown up, if I can't cook, this is what I'll make. And she wasn't very impressed. So is there a childhood recipe that you thought, this is it, this is the one I'm going to eat for the rest of my days?
Surely the one with the soup, right? The spaghetti bolognese made of soup.
Sketty.
Sketty.
It wouldn't be that. Is there something that I learned when I was a child that I ate for the rest of my days? Well, it's not a proper recipe, but no, it would be all the delicious processed foods that I learned to eat in Asda, because I don't think anyone's above putting a couple of bird's eye potato waffles in the toaster at any point. You can toast them. If you can take away anything from today, you can put, I mean, it may cause the odd house fire, but you can.
I don't even know what they are.
What?
I went on a Radio 4 program and it said you had to do things you had never done before. It's called I've Never Seen Star Wars, and I had a pot noodle. But I should have gone for the thing in the toaster. That sounds much more interesting.
You'd never had a pot noodle?
No. I'd never worn high heels, had a pot noodle, or watched a football match. Turns out I was fine without all three. What have you not done that you would like to do? There must be. Have you got a bucket list?
Oh God, there's loads of things that I would absolutely love to do, and I think I'm in the second half of my life now, and this is when I'm going to do them all.
I just drove the steam engine.
I know, honestly.
I was so excited.
I have
excited.
never seen a human being happier than Sandy Toksvig driving a steam engine. She just went past me, and I just thought, this is so, it's like dictionary definition of happiness. Going past.
I was so thrilled. I just wanted to take it on the motorway. Go, lovely. Hello.
Hello, hi Grace. What did you have to have any qualifications to become a food critic? What got you into that? You know, why are you better at food than anybody else?
Don't
Sorry,
tell them. Don't tell
I don't
them.
mean that to sound nasty.
It's really
No,
complicated. Don't tell them. Everybody will be doing it. It's really hard.
I don't think there's any university courses or diplomas or anything, a diploma in food writing. I don't think there is. I don't think there's that kind of course. And if there was, the men that went before me certainly didn't have it. So I'm not wasting time doing that. I was always very sure that I wanted to write about restaurants and food from I mean, I've been in writing for magazines and newspapers for 25 years. I always knew that job was there. Do you remember Michael Winner? So there was people like Michael Winner, exactly, and Charles Campion, and I looked at them and I realized that it was a job that people get it, and then, you know, men get it and they don't give it up. They don't give it up. You know, you have to wait till they're not there anymore. I'm trying to be nice. You have to wait until they're not there anymore. And I started being a restaurant critic because I'd been a writer first. I think that to be a restaurant critic, I don't think you have to be the best person, the most nerdy, precise person about every food in the world. I don't think you have to have that. We have Google now. We can double check the facts. But what you need to be able to do is churn out 900 words on restaurants, come rain or shine, week in, week out, plus Christmas specials, plus everything. You need to be able to write entertainingly. I always say that my restaurant columns come from a perspective of a woman that's just out and eating. I think most people that come to read my columns don't come because like they want to go to the restaurant. They're just curious what the hell I've been up to, you know? And I think that most people that read my columns don't even go to the restaurant afterwards. They're just sitting in a bathroom on a Saturday morning hiding from their children. And I think that they just, and I think that, you know, 5 times, at least 15 times a year, I have a blank sheet in front of me, 900 words to fill, and I'm on deadline, and I have to write about eating pasta in a room that was white, you know? So I think that the thing that differentiates me from most people is that I can write, and I can kind of keep the seat warm, and I never have any time off. You can never have any time off because then people that are younger and cheaper than you will come in and take your job off you. So yeah, have I got any qualifications? I took a few in wine because I had no background in wine. My father bought wine from kind of, you know, like we grew up on Blue Nun. If you ever drank Blue Nun?
Yeah, that is a terrible error.
Blue Nun and Liebfrau Milch and stuff. So I didn't know anything about wine. So I took a few in that. But have I got anything in food? No. I'm still waiting for somebody to find out and sack me. But in the meantime, I'm still here.
And do you think there's a single man in the world who would have that same looking over the shoulder worry?
No.
It's curious, isn't it?
No, none.
You're brilliant at what you do. And it's just...
I'm all right.
I'm sure Giles Corrin doesn't stay awake at night thinking, must be somebody better. You've
Don't
got
even
nothing to
start
say.
me.
Let's take one final question before we wrap up. Last one.
Oh, hang on. I'm
Yes.
going to ask. I just kind of wanted to say that, and I didn't mention it. I've never mentioned it all the times I met you. I loved you as Ethel.
Oh, darling, you are. That's a long, long time ago.
Ethel in Number 73. And that was a children's program when I was a little girl. And I used to watch that absolutely religiously. And no one ever asks you about it. And no one ever says how wonderful you were.
You're very sweet. And do you know, it's 40 years ago. I've been on telly for 40 years.
You were so... I just believed that's who you were. I thought you lived in that house. And it was... So yeah, you were
That's
wonderful,
lovely.
you know, and it was a long time ago, but
No, it was live television. It's the most fun I've ever had with my clothes on. It was good fun. Last question.
One more question.
Hello. I was just wondering if you had any advice for younger girls growing up in the 21st century with the diet culture and a lot of representation in social media.
Yeah, I think... I think it says something that I really, really have. I never wish that I was young these days. I wouldn't want to go through being 13, 14, 15, 16, 25 in this world, because although I grew up with a lot of anxiety about the way I looked, I didn't grow up with Instagram. And Instagram makes, even as at my age, I can't look at it. Do you have any?
I don't do any social media at all. And my advice to you is, it's not real. It's not real. Read a book that's been thought through.
It's not. It's
not real.
It's so addictive, though, and it's so, I spend my entire life putting the apps onto my phone because I'm required to contractually for different things. And then putting them on, and how quickly they get into, and this is I'm a woman in my, late 40s, and how quickly they get into your brain, and you start to look and follow people's stories. And even I, with all my worldly and cynical, worldly wise attitude, I know that it's bullshit. I know this is, it's not reality. It's everybody showing their absolute, the edited highlights of their life through a filter. And I know how difficult it is for me. So God knows when you're still in your formative years. So if I have any advice, it's bloody turn it off. And
read books. They are really hard to write. And people have really thought about it.
The strange thing is that when you're in the midst of it, Twitter, Instagram, rolling news on all the different channels that you're watching, all this, you feel as if that if you left for a month, you'd miss all of this. And I interviewed Krishnan Guru Murthy the other day, and we were talking about this being addicted, wanting to look. And we both agreed that if you go away for 6 weeks and don't look at any of it, the world hasn't changed. Nothing's changed. Everything's kind of the same. But we are so, we're so addicted. We want to be in the middle of it. So I think that, especially with body image and Instagram, it's not real. It's absolutely not real. I mean, I really fancy me on Instagram. I mean, I'm really fit. I am so fit. And then sometimes I look at the pictures, and then I just look at myself, and I think, but yeah, it's not real.
Don't look to see yourself reflected in other people's eyes. It's not necessary. You look fabulous to me. Okay. Right, we're running out of time. Thank you all. Grace, Dent! Oh, Rose and Julie! Are we good?
Thank you for staying. I mean, wonderful. Thank you very much.